Hello guys, Jared here again, and today I'm going to review the film, Mousehunt. Yes, so this film is basically about, you have two brothers who are obviously sort of based on Laurel and Hardy. You know, you have Nathan Lane as Ernie Smuntz, and his brother, who's played by Lee Evans, who's called Lars Smuntz, and they're based on Laurel and Hardy. You know, Ernie is, Nathan Lane is basically the Oliver Hardy type character, and Lee Evans as Lars is basically the Stan Laurel type character. And basically their father, who's called Rudolpho Smuntz, he passes away, and their father was like the owner of a string factory, and the two brothers work at the string factory as well. And and basically they got the father basically left this house to them in his will, and Ernie is also like a chef, and he gets fired from his job because he accidentally killed the mayor. There's like a cockroach in the food, and Lars gets kicked out of his house because he had an offer to sell the factory, but he decided not to because he knew the dad wouldn't like it. And the wife kicks him out of the house, because of that he missed that opportunity. And the wife being kind of a bitch, that's also taken from Laurel and Hardy. And I think she throws plates and bowls at him, which is also a sort of a reference to Laurel and Hardy. So of course now Lars and Ernie have to live in the house that their father left to them, and it turns out there's this mouse in their house, and basically they have to try and kill the mouse because it causes trouble, and trying to get rid of the mouse basically ends up with destroying the whole house. And that's basically the plot of this movie, and I really do love this as a tribute to Laurel and Hardy. I saw this when I was a kid, and I already was a fan of Laurel and Hardy by that point, and I knew straight away that it was based on them. I could recognize that straight away. Nobody ever told me that it was sort of based on Laurel and Hardy. I just kind of figured it out by myself. And I would say in general the three things it's inspired by the most are probably Laurel and Hardy, Home Alone, and Tom and Jerry. I said Lars and Ernie are obviously like Laurel and Hardy. They also are kind of like Harry and Marv from Home Alone, and a lot of the traps and stuff, and is a lot like Home Alone, and the Tom and Jerry comparison obviously because of trying to catch a mouse. So I'd recommend this movie to definitely people who are into that sort of thing. There was also recently a thing that reminded me a lot of this movie, which was Man vs. Bee on Netflix with Rowan Atkinson. That was a lot like this movie, but with Rowan Atkinson trying to get a bee, instead of Nathan Lane and Lee Evans trying to get a mouse. And finally, Nathan Lane and Rowan Atkinson were also both in The Lion King. So yeah. I will say especially the physical comedy from Lee Evans in this movie is just great. I mean, he's a famous British comedian, and in his stand-up, he's known for being a very physical comedian, and there's a lot of great physical comedy in this, and that's why he was cast in the role. One scene of great physical comedy from him is when he gets threads of his clothes stuck in the machine in the string factory, and it basically undoes his clothes. His physical comedy in that scene is great. And another scene of great physical comedy from him is when the mouse comes back, and he's trying to tell Ernie that the mouse is there, and Ernie's up doing a speech, and he's trying to mime to him the mouse, and he's doing that's really funny. And also there's a bit later that scene somebody else is up there doing the speech, or he's doing the bidding, and the mouse gets stuck in Lars's clothes, and the way he's moving when the mouse is gone down his clothes is just hilarious. Yeah, what's interesting is yeah, Lee Evans as Lars, he does an American accent, which makes sense because he's meant to be Nathan Lane's brother in this, and yeah, having them be brothers makes sense to have them have the same accent. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because Lee Evans is supposed to be like Stan Laurel, and Stan Laurel was English. So I'm wondering if at first they were originally not supposed to be brothers, and that's why they cast an English comedian to do that. But yeah, it makes more sense, I guess, to have him do an American accent if they're brothers. But you know, I think it would have been cool if he just did an English accent, his normal accent, as like a tribute to Stan Laurel. And another thing is like their father is played by William Hickey. You know, I said he's dead at the start of the film, but you know you see him in the coffin, and also you see flashbacks to him when he was alive, when he was like dying, and there's a painting of him on the wall, which expression keeps changing whenever, depending on what's happening in the scene. But yeah, he's played by William Hickey, and what's sad is William Hickey actually did pass away not long after they filmed this, and this was actually his last ever movie he was in, which is interesting. And I know William Hickey, he also played Uncle Lewis in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. He also was the voice of, I think it was Dr. Fickelstein in The Nightmare Before Christmas. So that's interesting. This was his final ever film before he passed away. This was also the very first film directed by Gore Verbinski, who would later be best known, I guess, for directing the first three Pirates of the Caribbean films, which I like the first few of those films, but this is my favourite movie that he's directed. So yeah, and it's also a very early DreamWorks film. This is a collection of live-action DreamWorks films, and you associate the company more with like animation, but these are live-action films from them. This was actually before they were really known for animation. The other two came out after they were known for animation, but this one came out in 1997. The first DreamWorks animated film was Ants, which came out in 1998, which came out to like compete with A Bug's Life, and I think A Bug's Life was more popular. I always preferred A Bug's Life, and but then I think Shrek was the film that really put DreamWorks on the map, and I love Shrek, but yeah. But it's interesting, this was before DreamWorks was like the well-known animation company that it is today. You also have Christopher Walken in this film, who shows up as the like exterminator, who comes at one point, and like the mouse even like pretty much defeats him. Which is funny. Before that, they get like a cat who's called Catzilla. They specifically try and get one they say like one that's hard to love, and stuff. And it's great. I mean, I think when the cat's like running around, they used a real cat, but when they have close-ups of it, it's like a puppet of a cat, and they, deliberately tried to make it like as hideous, like as much of a monstrous cat as possible. And I mean, the cat. It seems like the cat dies, but they never say the thing like lands on him, so you kind of assume he died. But when the cat leaves the movie, that's when Christopher Walken's character comes in. But I love how like Christopher Walken's character as this exterminator is like kind of crazy. The way he's like, you've got to get inside their minds. That's really funny. And I mean, I do think Lars and Ernie are very likable characters in this, and the mouse is also pretty likable. They make the mouse sort of have human traits a bit, and it's a lot like, again, with the comparison to Man vs. Bee, in that Rowan Atkinson's character of Trevor is still very likable, and the bee is also kind of likable, so you are on both sides. So and it's good that at the end of this movie it turns out good for both the mouse and for Lars and Ernie. So and the music for this film is done by Alan Silvestri, and he's a very famous composer, and the main theme of this movie, anyone who's seen it will remember the theme. It's very associated with the film. And also, I remember there's a bit at like the bidding party where like Nathan Lane actually says like Hakuna Matata, obviously a reference to the Lion King, and I did really like that reference they had there. Now I will say like the CGI in the film is not very good. I mean, a lot of the time, the mouse is like a real trained mouse, and I think sometimes when it's a close up, it's like a puppet. But there are some times where it's CGI, and the CGI really doesn't hold up. And also, like when the cat's like legs, break out of the box, their legs are CGI, and that doesn't look that great. But yeah, but I would highly recommend this film to anyone who's a fan of stuff like Laurel and Hardy, Home Alone or Tom and Jerry, because I think those things inspired the movie a lot. Or even people who like that recent Man vs. Bee thing, I'd definitely recommend this. So yeah, thanks for watching my review, and bye.